Good evening, dear listener. Tonight we set aside the noise of the day and embark on a calm journey of imagination. I am your narrator, Daniel, and I warmly welcome you to this experience. Our path will not lead us to the familiar coasts of France, but far across the ocean, into the Altamar coast of southern Argentina, a region known for its windswept beaches, wide marshes, and the free-roaming silver horses that have lived there for countless generations. The tale you will hear tonight was penned by a writer named Sophia, and will be spoken by Lucia, whose gentle voice will guide us. I myself once spent part of my childhood in Patagonia, and though this is not precisely the same place, the landscape stirs a similar longing in my heart. I find myself anticipating the story as if I were once again a boy gazing at endless skies, letting the wind play with my hair while the world slowed down. Before we step onto the warm sand in our minds, let us pause and allow our bodies to release the weight of the day. Settle into a position that feels right, whether lying down, sitting back, or simply closing your eyes. If you wish, you may follow a brief exercise with me. It is optional, but for those who find rhythm in breath, this technique is a gift. We call it the square breath. Imagine a perfect square, 4 sides, each one equal. On the first side, you draw in air through your nose for 4 steady counts. On the second side, you hold it calmly for 4 more. The third side is the exhale, release for another 4. And the last side is the gentle pause, once again 4 counts long. Then the square begins anew. Shall we try? Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Exhale 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Again. Draw the air in, hold. Release slowly. Pause. A final round now. Breathe in. Steady, patient, gentle. Keep. Let go. Rest. Notice what shifts within you when breath is no longer hurried but guided. Perhaps your shoulders drop. Perhaps your mind finds a little more space. If you wish, continue on your own. If not, allow your lungs to return naturally to their rhythm. Remember, you can come back to this pattern whenever you need to slow down, whether at night or in the middle of the day. Now, let us travel in spirit. Picture yourself standing on a vast beach along the Altamar coast. The sand gleams pale gold, spreading in a wide arc beside the restless Atlantic. This coastal park lies between 2 distant towns, Puerto Sol in the west and Miraluna in the east. Though here, in this secluded stretch, there is no one but you. The shore bends endlessly, a ribbon that disappears into haze. You pause to take in the horizon. The sky is a faded watercolor blue. The sun tries to pierce a layer of stubborn clouds, yet they hold their ground. Gentle waves press against the land, whispering in steady rhythm. A tiny fishing vessel, painted blue and white, bobs upon the swell. 2 men lean over its side, casting their nets in hope of catching enough to supply the restaurants of Puerto Sol. You lower yourself onto the dunes. Tufts of wild grass rise around you, the stalks swaying in the wind. From here the land falls gently toward the tide. You close your eyes. The air tastes of salt. You draw it in once, then again, and a third time, slow, deliberate breaths. For a moment everything feels balanced, as if your own body has aligned with the pulse of the sea. When you open your eyes, you notice movement in the distance. 7 shapes appear on the sand, so faint at first they could be illusions. But as they advance, you see them clearly. 7 radiant horses, their coats so light they look almost silvery white. They run with elegance, hooves striking the earth, grains of sand scattering behind. These are the silver horses of Altamar, creatures as old as the marshlands themselves. No herders follow them today. Normally, gauchos known as cuidadores guard and train the herds, but these wander free. Their formation sharpens into a V, the elder stallion in the lead, the younger ones trailing close behind. Their steps are bold, their rhythm unbroken. The nearer they come, the clearer their beauty reveals itself. Flowing manes caught by the wind, tails sweeping with every bound. Locals often claim these horses are gray beneath it all, that their true coats are dappled. Yet under today's veiled sunlight and the reflection of cobalt waters, they appear pure white, white like new snow upon the Andes. It is rare fortune to see so many together, for only a few hundred remain across the entire coastal plain. They slow as they approach. 6 halt at the water's edge while the leader breaks away, advancing toward you. His stride is firm yet unthreatening, carrying a certain majesty, as though he had stepped out of a forgotten epic. You imagine him as a warrior's steed, fearless and noble. His eyes, deep brown and inquisitive, meet yours. Though no words are spoken, you sense the unvoiced question. Why have you come? You stay seated, careful not to startle him. He dips his head in a graceful bow. Then he shakes, tossing grains of sand into the air. The tiny particles rain down, speckling your shirt and clinging to your arms. Yet you smile, for the gesture feels playful, almost as though he has accepted your presence. Up close, you notice his form. A short neck, a wide chest, strong limbs suited for marshes. These horses are known for their intelligence, and you find yourself wondering if he carries a name. Quietly, you give him one caballero after an old night. He nudges your shoulder as if in approval. Then he closes his eyes, standing calmly, inviting trust. You whisper a greeting, telling him how grateful you are to meet him. He lowers his muzzle into your open palm. The grasses beside you sway, brushing against your arm. With your other hand, you pluck a few blades and offer them. He turns his head aside almost humorously, as if saying, "No, not now." For a moment you imagine centuries past, when horses such as this pulled wooden carts, carried goods, and helped farmers shape the land. Yet here, watching him wander free along the deserted coast, you cannot picture a sight more stirring. He bows once more before retreating to his companions. The other 6 have waited silently. As he rejoins them, they gather in a half-circle, perhaps discussing what they have just seen. Then, satisfied that you are harmless, they resume their path. Slowly at first, then with increasing speed, they gallop along the shoreline. Spray leaps around them as they cut in and out of the waves, coats shimmering with water. You watch until they vanish into haze. The clouds break at last, and the sun casts shards of light upon the sea, each glint sparkling like a diamond. The fishing boat drifts farther toward the port, and beyond it the faint shape of an old fortress wall emerges against the horizon. Feeling drawn to explore, you rise. Shoes in hand, you step barefoot across the sand, the grains soft and cool. The tide slides forward to greet your toes, refreshing and lively. The sounds of water soothe you, each wave retreating and returning. You follow the direction the horses took. A breeze warms your face as you walk knee-deep in the shallows. Soon, a wooden path rises between dunes. Curiosity leads you there. Sitting briefly, you brush sand from your feet and slip your shoes back on. The boardwalk stretches inland, bordered by wildflowers. Tiny bursts of yellow and violet. Butterflies flutter from blossom to blossom, wings catching the light. The path carries you toward wetlands that glisten beneath the sun. Reeds cluster in thick green walls. Your guidebook, tucked under your arm, mentions that this ecosystem shelters more than 400 species of birds. Herons, glossy ibis, even the white-tailed eagle. As you wander, you spot a plant you recognize. Sea lavender. The stems are red, its leaves shaped like spoons. You touch them lightly, feeling the salt crystals that gather beneath. Its flowers, delicate purple, carry not the scent of common lavender, but a faint sweetness, herbal and unique. You close your eyes, inhaling. Then a flicker of pink draws your gaze. A vast flock of flamingos stands in the shallows, hundreds of them together. Some balance elegantly on one leg, necks curved into perfect S-shapes. Others appear half asleep, faces hidden in their feathers. One spreads its wings, ready for flight, only to settle again beside its peers. Their colors astound you. Shades from coral to bubblegum, from pale rose to deep fuchsia. They resemble swans crossed with emus, yet brighter, more graceful, utterly distinct. You watch as the flock shifts, rippling across the lake like living flame. Above, clouds gather once more, muting the sun. You continue along the walkway. An information board catches your eye. It explains that since medieval times, Altamar has been renowned for its crimson rice. Its hue comes from salt flats colored by microscopic algae. Depending on the season and the hour, the water shines different shades, from pale blush to brilliant red. The board also notes that these marshes form the largest saltworks of the southern Atlantic. Thousands of tons of sea salt are drawn each year. The thought of visiting tempts you, but access requires a guided tour, and for now you choose to keep walking. Soon the wetlands give way to rugged meadows bordered by weathered fences. Black bulls graze here, their horns oddly shaped. Locals claim some live up to 40 years. They hardly notice your presence, intent on tearing grass from the soil. In the distance rises the fortress wall you glimpsed from the shore. Honey-colored stone, circular turrets, and a gate flanked by towers. Your guidebook names it Puerto Viejo, Old Port, built long ago to guard the marshland routes. From where you stand, the wall appears pristine, not a single block crumbling. Curiosity drives you to climb the steps onto the ramparts. The view leaves you breathless. To one side stretch the town's narrow streets, lined with shops selling art, clothing, and postcards. Fountains splash in small squares, while cafes sprawl under trees. To the other side extend lakes and rivers merging with the sea. And there, in a meadow, you notice again 7 white horses. Could they be the same ones you met earlier? Farther on, your eyes catch the salt lakes, glowing rose against the blue ocean and green fields. The image etches itself deep into your memory. As the sun sinks lower, you descend into town. Cobblestone streets welcome you with stores selling handmade soaps, nets, and colorful garments. A small cafe greets you with a sign painted Bienvenidos. Wooden barrels serve as tables, menus pinned above them. Next door, an art gallery glows with paintings of landscapes and wildlife. Inside, a young man notices your gaze upon a painting of horses. He steps forward, smiling, and tells you with pride that his grandfather is a ciudador, a guardian of the herds. On their ranch, he explains, horses help manage the black bulls. When you mention seeing a group alone by the sea, he laughs warmly. They are semi-wild, he explains, fond of their own adventures, yet always they return. They are called horses of the tide, for their hooves adapt perfectly to marsh and surf. He shows you a black and white photo of his grandfather, wearing a wide hat and jacket, standing beside a silver horse. He tells you these animals have lived since ancient times, depicted even in cave art. Then, to your surprise, he takes the painting you admired, wraps it, and hands it to you as a gift. Grateful, you thank him. At the end of the street, the town square bustles with diners. Music drifts, plates clatter, glasses ring with toasts. Deciding to wander further, you head north. Night has fallen. Lanterns shine upon shuttered windows. A 2-story white building rises ahead, modern among the old houses. Large letters spell cinema. Curious, you climb the steps and peer inside. A woman at the counter looks up from her book, smiles briefly, and gestures you in. Posters of classic Argentine films hang on the walls. Through a quiet hallway you step into a theater. Around 100 seats, velvet-covered, slightly reclining, await. Lanterns line the walls. You sink into a chair at the center, remove your shoes, and stretch your toes. The day's weight presses upon you. Slowly, eyes close, lights dim, and in the silence, as sleep drifts in, your mind replays the day. The beach, the horses, the flamingos, the fortress, the salt lakes. Most vivid of all, the stallion Caballero, who came forward with noble grace. With the small painting safe on your lap, you promise yourself to visit the ranch tomorrow. And with that thought, you fall gently into dreams. The soft darkness of evening rests gently upon Puerto Viejo, yet our journey continues. Imagine now that the night has passed, and with the first hues of dawn, the coastal town awakens. The faint aroma of sea salt blends with the smell of fresh bread drifting from bakeries tucked along cobblestone streets. Lanterns, extinguished one by one, yield to the rising sun. You rise early, carrying the small painting given to you the night before, the image of the horses carefully wrapped in brown paper. Its presence feels symbolic, almost like a talisman guiding you. The town around you is still quiet. Merchants are only just beginning to open shutters, sweeping dust from doorsteps. A few fishermen pass by with their nets coiled over shoulders, heading toward the harbor. Instead of following them, you turn back toward the fortress wall and climb the ramparts once again. Morning paints the marshes in shades of silver and gold. The horizon stretches wide, the sea glowing faintly as though lit from beneath. From your vantage point, you see the herds again, smaller this time, grazing in the fields beyond the wetlands. Caballero may be among them, but at this distance you cannot be sure. Deciding to search, you leave the walls and wander through the meadows. The air carries the call of birds, ibis, gulls, even the occasional hawk. Each sound feels like part of a grand orchestra conducted by nature itself. Your shoes sink into damp earth. The grass is dotted with wildflowers, pink and yellow, resilient against the salty breeze. Farther ahead, you find yourself near shallow pools reflecting the morning sky. Flamingos stand here again, their feathers glowing like living fire against the water. This time you watch them more closely. Some plunge their curved beaks into the surface, stirring ripples as they filter tiny shrimp. Others flap their wings in bursts of coral and crimson. The spectacle entrances you. For a long moment you lose track of time. Beyond the flamingos, you notice an old wooden bridge crossing a narrow channel. Its beams are weathered and gray, yet strong. You cross it, listening to the creak beneath your weight. On the other side, the path bends into a small grove of tamarisk trees. Their branches whisper as the wind threads through them. You pause beneath the shade, grateful for the cool air. A signpost appears at the edge of the grove. Painted in faded blue letters, it points toward the Salinas Rosadas, the pink salt flats. Yesterday you had read about them on the boardwalk, but today curiosity wins. Though the flats lie some distance away, the trail invites you onward. As you walk, the land transforms again. Reeds give way to low bushes, and the soil shifts from dark to pale. Soon you smell salt before you see it. Then, the sight unfolds. Vast shimmering lakes, their waters painted in shades of rose and crimson. The colors look almost unreal, as though an artist has brushed them onto the world. Depending on the angle of the light, the tones deepen or fade, shifting like liquid gemstones. You step closer, amazed. The air carries a faint metallic tang. Tiny crystals sparkle along the shoreline, crunching softly beneath your feet. Workers in wide hats move across the flats, carrying tools, harvesting the salt by hand as their ancestors once did. Their silhouettes against the vibrant backdrop look timeless, bridging centuries of labor and tradition. One of them notices you watching and raises a hand in greeting. You wave back but do not intrude, choosing instead to sit on a nearby rock. From here, you gaze across the flats, marveling at the contrast. Crimson waters, azure sky, ivory mounds of salt. You breathe deeply, storing this vision in memory. Eventually, you rise again and retrace your steps. The journey back brings you near the meadow with the black bulls. They graze with the same indifference as before, their massive bodies moving slowly through grass. Yet one lifts its head, fixing you with dark eyes for a moment. Then it lowers again, chewing steadily, dismissing you as no threat. Past the fields, the fortress of Puerto Viejo looms closer. But this time, instead of entering the town, you veer toward the harbor. Fishing boats rock gently, their hulls painted in bright reds and blues. Nets hang drying in the sun, and the scent of fresh catch lingers in the air. A group of children run along the pier, laughing as they chase each other. Life here feels simple, yet deeply tied to sea and land. A voice calls to you. Turning, you see the young man from the gallery. He waves and approaches, smiling warmly. In his hands he carries a woven basket filled with bread and fruit. He explains that his grandfather, the ciudador, has invited you to visit their ranch. The horses will be there at dusk, he says. If you wish, come. His words carry both invitation and certainty, as though he already knows you will accept. You thank him, touched once more by his kindness. With directions in mind, you make your way inland as the day lengthens. The path to the ranch is long, winding through open plains. Along the way, you notice small farms with goats and sheep, their bells tinkling faintly. Farmers wave from afar, returning to their work. By late afternoon, you arrive. A simple wooden gate marks the entrance. Beyond it lies a wide expanse of land bordered by marshes and low hills. Horses graze freely, their coats gleaming under the sun. Among them, unmistakable, is Caballero. He raises his head as if sensing your arrival. The young man introduces you to his grandfather, a man with weathered skin and bright eyes. His wide hat shades his face, but his smile is clear. He greets you with a firm handshake and leads you deeper onto the land. These horses, he says in Spanish-accented tones, are not merely animals. They are part of our family, our history. You walk together, watching as mares and foals move gracefully across the field. The grandfather points out subtle details, the way their hooves spread to keep balance in marshes, how their coats shift color with age, why their stamina is legendary. His voice carries pride, but also reverence. Caballero approaches. This time he does not hesitate. He comes directly to you, pressing his muzzle against your chest. The grandfather chuckles softly. He chooses, he says. When a horse like him trusts you, it is because he feels your spirit. You stroke Caballero's mane, feeling the warmth of his body, the strength beneath his skin. For a moment, you lose sense of boundaries. Human and animal, visitor and guardian, all dissolve into connection. Evening paints the sky with orange and violet. The herd gathers near a stream, drinking calmly. The grandfather invites you to stay for supper. Beneath a rustic shelter, you share bread, cheese, and olives, the flavors simple yet perfect. The conversation drifts between stories of the past. How Quitadors rode across marshes, how storms tested the herds, how every generation learns anew the delicate balance of freedom and guidance. As night falls, stars bloom across the sky. No city lights interfere here. The heavens seem vast and endless. You lie back on the grass, the sounds of crickets surrounding you, Caballero grazing nearby. Sleep draws close, but you resist, not wanting the moment to end. At last, though, you close your eyes, and as you drift, images return. The flamingos glowing pink against water, the salt flats burning crimson under sun, the fortress wall standing proud, and Caballero, noble and gentle, bowing his head in recognition. Morning breaks once again over the Altamar coast. The first beams of light spill across the marshes, catching on the dew that clings to every blade of grass. The world is hushed, yet alive. The faint cry of gulls, the distant murmur of surf, the rustle of reeds as the wind wakes them. You stir from sleep on a small cot offered by the grandfather of the ranch, wrapped in a woolen blanket that smells faintly of smoke and sea air. The memory of last night lingers. Sharing food beneath the stars, listening to stories of guardians and storms, and sensing the deep reverence this family holds for their horses. Caballero grazes not far away, his white coat glowing in dawn's light. He looks up briefly, ears twitching, then lowers his head again, content. You rise, stretching sore muscles. The grandfather greets you with coffee brewed strong and dark. He says little, but his eyes are kind. His grandson arrives with a loaf of fresh bread from the town and sets it on the table. Together you share a simple breakfast. The quiet is companionable, each sound magnified. The crunch of bread, the slosh of coffee, the distant call of a hawk. Afterward, the grandfather offers to show you more of the land. You walk with him across wide fields that slope gently toward marshes. The morning sun brightens, painting everything in sharper hues. He points out places where floods once reshaped the earth, where birds nested in great flocks, where horses birthed foals in the shelter of reeds. Every detail is part of a living memory, one that he carries with pride. You pass an old corral, its wooden posts worn gray. Here, he explains, they sometimes train the younger horses, teaching them to accept saddles and ropes. But training is minimal, for the herd must remain free. They belong to the marsh as much as the reeds do, he says. We only guide, never cage. As you walk, you notice Caballero has followed. He lingers at a distance, as though unwilling to leave you behind. His presence feels almost protective. At times he breaks into a trot, mane lifting in the wind, then slows again, watching. You smile at the thought of this noble horse choosing your company. By midday, the sun grows hot. You retreat beneath a grove of trees near a shallow stream. The grandfather pours cool water into a gourd and offers it to you. The drink refreshes you instantly. From the grove, you can see the salt flats shimmer faintly in the distance, their rose tones muted in the glare. Closer, flocks of flamingos rise suddenly into the air, their wings flashing pink and red. They soar as one body before circling down again to another pool. You remain in the shade until afternoon. The grandson joins you carrying a small notebook. Inside are sketches, drawings of horses, bulls, flamingos, and even the salt workers. He explains shyly that he hopes to become an artist, capturing the spirit of Altamar in images. When he sees you admire his work, his face brightens. He insists on tearing one page free and giving it to you. The drawing shows Caballero head bowed, mane flowing. You accept, deeply touched. Later, the grandfather suggests visiting Puerto Viejo again. Together, the three of you ride in a wagon pulled by two sturdy mares. The slow journey allows you to see details missed before. Dragonflies glittering above ponds, children gathering reeds, farmers leading donkeys laden with baskets. The land feels alive in every corner. When the fortress walls appear, you feel an unexpected rush of recognition. The honey-colored stone glows in late sunlight. Inside the town, life bustles. Merchants call from stalls, selling spices, cloth, and fish. The scent of grilled meat mingles with that of fresh herbs. You walk once more through narrow lanes, but this time you are not a stranger. People greet the grandfather respectfully. He is clearly known and trusted here. The three of you stop at a cafe beneath tall plane trees. You sit at a wooden table while the waiter brings wine and cheese. Around you, families dine, musicians play guitars softly, and children chase each other across the square. The atmosphere is vibrant yet unhurried. You savor every detail, the laughter, the clinking glasses, the warm light spilling from windows. As evening deepens, the grandson leads you back to the gallery you visited before. Inside, the paintings glow under lamps. He shows you new works, landscapes of the salt flats, portraits of bulls, abstract impressions of birds. His passion is evident, and you encourage him, telling him his art captures not only what he sees but what he feels. He smiles broadly, grateful. Night falls fully by the time you return to the ranch. Stars appear once more, brilliant against the dark sky. The grandfather lights a small fire. Together you sit around it, silent for a while, listening to the crackle of wood and the chorus of night insects. Caballero and the herd stand nearby, their silhouettes strong and graceful against the horizon. Then the grandfather speaks, his voice low but firm. The world changes, he says. Cities grow, traditions fade. But as long as these horses run free, something of our spirit endures. Promise me you will remember them, even when you return home. You nod, moved by the solemn request. The flames dance, casting shifting shadows. You look at Caballero, who stands slightly apart, watching the fire with calm eyes. In that moment, you feel the weight of the promise settle into your heart. Later, when you retire to rest in the small room of the ranch house, dreams come quickly. Yet they are not mere dreams, they feel like visions. You see the beach again, waves splashing as horses gallop across the sand. You see flamingos rising in a cloud of pink. You see the salt flats gleaming crimson at sunset. And always at the center, Caballero, the noble stallion, bowing once more as though sealing a pact. Morning comes with golden light. It is your last day in Altamar. You pack your small belongings, wrapping carefully the painting and the drawing given to you. The grandfather shakes your hand firmly. The grandson embraces you. Caballero approaches one final time, pressing his muzzle against your shoulder. You stroke his mane, whispering farewell. As you walk away from the ranch, the land opens before you. Marshes, meadows, and the shining sea. Every detail feels sharper, etched permanently in your memory. You know that wherever life carries you, the spirit of Altamar will remain, a quiet strength within. And as you leave, you carry not only images but also a promise, that you will remember the horses of the tide, guardians of freedom, symbols of endurance. In your heart, they gallop forever, wild and unbroken. The morning of departure arrives gently, without fanfare. The ranch is quiet, as though it too knows you must leave. A mist drifts low across the fields, blurring the line between earth and sky. The air smells of damp soil and the faint sweetness of grass crushed beneath hooves. Caballero stands near the fence, watching silently. You gather your belongings, scant, yet filled with meaning. The small painting wrapped in brown paper, the drawing of Caballero given by the grandson, the memories that no pack could ever carry. The grandfather shakes your hand firmly, his eyes steady. He says few words, but each one carries weight. Remember, freedom is the breath of these horses. Do not forget. The grandson embraces you quickly, shy but sincere. Then you turn to Caballero. He steps forward without hesitation. His muzzle touches your chest once more, warm breath against your shirt. For a moment time seems to stop. You stroke his mane slowly, whispering a promise you barely have words for. He bows his head, then retreats to the herd. The gesture feels final, yet not farewell, more like an unbroken bond stretched across distance. The road back to Puerto Viejo is long. You walk it slowly, every step echoing with the rhythm of hooves you no longer hear but still feel. The plains open before you, filled with birds taking flight, reeds bending, and the far-off glimmer of the sea. Though the land is the same, it feels different now, as if each detail has imprinted itself deeper into you. By noon you reach the fortress walls. Puerto Viejo bustles with life. Vendors calling, children laughing, the scent of grilled fish rising from the square. Yet you move through the town as though half in dream. Every sound and color reminds you of what lies just beyond. The marshes, the flamingos, the salt flats burning crimson at dusk. You wander one last time along the ramparts. From above, you see the horizon where ocean meets sky, endless and bright. For a moment you imagine the horses there, galloping once more along the tide, Caballero at the front. Though you cannot see them, the vision feels so strong it almost convinces you they are truly there, just beyond sight. As evening falls, you sit at a cafe beneath the plane trees. The square is alive with music and conversation. Glasses clink, torches flicker, and warm laughter drifts on the air. Yet your gaze remains far away, fixed on memory. You sip slowly, letting the taste anchor you in the present even as your mind roams back to the beach where it all began. When night comes, you walk to the harbor. Fishing boats rock gently in the dark water, lanterns glowing like tiny stars. You find a bench at the end of the pier and sit. The sea stretches wide, reflecting the moon. You think of the promise made by firelight, to remember, and you know you will. In your mind, the images return, clear and luminous. The flamingos rising in clouds of pink. The salt flats glowing like molten rubies. The fortress walls strong against centuries. And above all, the silver horses of Altamar. Caballero leading, hooves striking, manes streaming like banners in the wind. The night deepens, and still you remain, listening to waves. At last you rise, turning back toward the town. Tomorrow you will travel on, but a part of you will never leave this coast. The spirit of Altamar now lives within you, as real as breath, as enduring as tide. You whisper once more into the night, "I will not forget." And somewhere, beyond marsh and meadow, a stallion lifts his head, as though he has heard.